It can be a very different story once private firms get control of public services, however.
You gave me the wrong form? I spent the night in jail. They impounded my car. I don't know how you justify a bill like this for services like that.
Sorry, sir. It's just the cost of doing business.
The cost of doing business? I'll show you the cost of doing business. I'm going to talk to my MLA first thing in the morning.
Oops. Did we forget? We've been privatized.
Oh, God.
Oh, you could try talking to MLH.
What? MLH? What's that?
My left hand.
Oh, that's it. I want to talk to your complaint department right now.
Absolutely.
Oh, God.
I'll just put this into the suggestion box.
Now that's a good one. The sad truth is the workers in private companies that win public contracts generally are paid lower wages and receive fewer benefits than their public service counterparts. They don't share in those profits made by the owners either. So instead of boosting morale and a sense of company pride, this creates a master-servant climate of lousy morale and high staff turnover. The net result? An undertrained, underperforming, and generally unhappy workforce.
Congratulations, kid. We got the contract. Let's celebrate. Okay, so they're day old, but if you dunk them in your coffee, they'll be fine. Here, hold these. I'll call you in a week. I'll send you a postcard from the beach. Bye-bye.
The privatizers are not stupid, of course. They know their arguments can be shot full of holes. Doesn't matter. For them, privatization is a matter of principle. The principle of profit. Their desire to make money for themselves and their friends is the only reason they need to keep pushing for more and more privatization, even in the face of strong evidence it doesn't serve the best interests of the public. And yet, despite its bold talk about the virtues of privatization, the Tory government isn't exactly upfront. In fact, it can be downright sneaky.
You can expect privatization to happen in a certain way. The first straw in the wind is that you notice that a service is being broadly criticized.
Ralph Klein had just come into power, and there was all sorts of rumblings about privatization, and some parts of AUPE had been privatized, and we had heard that the whole child welfare department was going to be regionalized and then privatized.
In some cases, the criticism will be led by the government itself, where they complain about the lack of proper service and they're going to try to do better next year, but for some reason the service doesn't improve and the word gets around that it's those public servants that don't want to do the work properly, and so then it becomes legitimate for the government to pursue a strategy to get rid of these lazy bums.
We were also experiencing at the time were rollbacks in our wages, and that deflected attention away from other issues such as privatization. Our staff were feeling the pressure of not having enough workers in the offices to do the work, so the services were deteriorating, and of course that creates then the climate for the government to be able to go out and say, hey look, you know, something's wrong here, how can we make it better?
So the government had something else in mind here. It was determined to cut employees out of its books. They wanted to be able to go to the legislature at budget time and say, last year we had X number of employees, this year we have X minus whatever number they managed to get rid of. So what they had to do was find some way of divesting themselves of direct control of the services without encountering the public wrath that they were sure to encounter if people found that children weren't being taken care of.
Basically, the government created this climate of fear where they hoped that nobody would have the the fortitude and the strength to stand up to them.
After a period of criticism and usually a scandal or two, the government has to appear as the one that's going to solve the problem for the Alberta people. That's when they issue a discussion paper or a white paper, such as the ones that were circulated on children's services. The people have a chance then to discuss the proposals put forward, and this, by the way, is when the union or any other group of concerned citizens can kickstart their process if they want to stop it.
Well, we knew we had to fight it. We had no choice. It really meant the destruction of the Child Welfare Department as we knew at the time, and it also meant the destruction of our jobs. They created this position, Commissioner of Children's Service, I believe it was, and they appointed someone by the name of Ray Lasnik into that position. And Ray Lasnik's job was to go around the province, basically get input from community stakeholders as to what would a privatized system look like.
Mr. Speaker, is it the minister's plan to privatize this department? Is that what this is all about? Is that your ultimate plan?
Usually, these steps and those discussions are bogus because the government or the groups pushing the government have it in their minds that it will happen. And so it's going to happen, and the discussions are just pro forma.
Mr. Speaker, virtually every part of the Department of Justice has to be reviewed in terms of whether it can be more effective and more efficient and deliver service better to the people of the province of Alberta. Part of that kind of a review, which is an ongoing review, which I promote as the minister of this department, is to consider whether a privatization model would be a better way of delivering service so that we could get more money and have less administration into the hands of more money into the hands and less administration in the program, more money into the hands of.
When Ray Lasnik met with community stakeholders, he had a very specific list of questions he was asking them. So they knew exactly what the response they wanted to get was before they asked the question.
After that, then, the government will invariably come out and say that it has consulted the public and now it's ready to come out with an initiative.
It was seen with this veneer of, oh, public consultation, we care about the system and we want to see how we can improve it. But all along, his whole questioning was, what would a privatized model look like, and what's the best way to do it? The government does not like it when they're challenged publicly, because then you start peeling off the veneer of what they're saying and you expose what their real intentions are. And many of our leaders were disciplined severely for that by the employer, telling them basically to shut up. Because we threw roadblocks in front of them, and also the gag order issue, the fact that we were being disciplined for speaking out, that detracted the employers, the government's attention away from their goal as well. Because then it became, well, how come they're trying to shut up these people who have something to say? The public was saying, we want to hear from these folks. Why is the government trying to shut them up? What have they got? What's their hidden agenda? We wrote